Now, if I was a SaaS company, where am I going to screw up?
So that stuff, if you're trying to do any kind of volume, that messes you up.
In shortest formats, what's changed in 2026?
Now, in terms of what AI changed for us,
Welcome on board, Atishay. Finally good to have you here, man. How are you going?
very well. Thanks so much for having me.
The sun's getting a bit nice and warm, but that's good. Okay. So I want to just take a bit of a moment. We're going to spend the next 20, 30 minutes to talk about a few things. Perhaps the first thing, I want to go into your technicalities. I want to understand that because I know you're very unique. For those who are watching this, Atish is amongst the very few agency owners who's actually been a software developer. He's worked at Amazon in the past and he scaled his business. But we'll get into that a bit later. Right now, you're amongst the heavy users on the product, right? In shortest formats, what's changed in 2026?
Now, in terms of what AI changed for us, in terms of our operations as an agency, it's made list building a lot easier. Like now, it's a lot easier to build better lists, segment them better, and personally, I feel that all kinds of outreach. If you want to have success with outreach, especially with email, exclusively with email, it's a lot about who you reach out to, and like a lot more about who you reach out to than about what it is that you say. And obviously what you say matters, right? Like you can't just send them gibberish or like something completely nonsensical. But I feel when I speak to people, when I speak to potential customers, the thing that I see is they usually have the copywriting basics. Okay, copywriting is not the plopper. And with AI, with Claude getting smarter, it's not difficult to write good copy. But what the AI cannot do for you is it cannot build you good lists because it hallucinates. It might have the completely wrong idea on who your target audience is. So for those reasons, I feel like list building, AI has helped a lot with list building.
We'll jump into the SMB space, right? And I want to learn a bit more about your structure and then how you're actually doing the outbound itself. Then when I go into your structure, we'll break it down into two formats. One, this one you can be a little bleak about if you want. What's your acquisition strategy for your own clients? And then how do you acquire 50 plus customers?
Right. So majority of our own acquisition has been outreach. Like we just reached out at scale. And slowly I've started doing more content. So, late last year, I started doing more content. So we're getting some lead flow from that channel. But historically, our most successful channel has been outbound. And then referrals from customers.
Outbound alone works without any content?
No, like in the last 6 months, I've seen a significant uptick in the quality of clients we're able to attract. So even people that we reach out to, I found that, we have better conversations on a sales calls. A lot of people check us out, they've watched YouTube videos. I think if someone's watching this, there's absolutely no downside to doing content. You should probably be doing content. I was too late to realize this, so don't make the mistake I made. Put something out there, right? Like just document whatever you're doing. It's only going to help. Like I've seen that. I've seen a material difference in the quality of conversation.
But I'm assuming timing for you means intent signals based off an action that's happened off platform. Like what would be that? We'll go to the general like job change or they've fundraise. What else?
So, you mentioned the word signals, and I feel that word doesn't really tell you much, right? Like when people talk about signals, it could mean anything. So internally, when I'm trying to educate our team or even our clients, I like to break it down to saying behaviors or attributes that companies exhibit that you can confidently gather from publicly available information that makes it relevant for you to reach out to that business at that point of time. So it's two things, behaviors and attributes.
Okay.
Right. And now with these two categories, you can break down the things that you look at. So behaviors could be things like you mentioned, job posts. Maybe they put out an RFP. Maybe they hired a bunch of people for a certain department. Maybe they were at an event, at a conference. Attributes could be using a tech stack, being listed on a specific directory. Okay. So like once you start to look at it from this lens, you can come up with a lot more things. And then you don't have to like some signals that are super popular in the space are like scraping likes off of a LinkedIn post.
Is tracking data in SMB businesses when you're serving SMB clients the same? Meaning, is it reply rate as the general metric? I know you do dialing and you're amongst the few that do it and you do it really well. We have a few others doing that too. I want to jump into that very quickly because that I think is a very interesting space with the way the world is going. But particular to you right now, is it per campaign? It might be a generic question of is it per campaign that you do it? Is your offer always a reply rate driven campaign, what exactly is the clear measurement of a successful campaign here?
We just monitor one metric. We call it PCPL, which is
Yes.
prospects contacted per lead.
Yes.
And the reason I love this so much is just by looking at that one number, you can now, I'll give you an example. So the PCPL, for anyone watching, obviously, you want to get it as low as possible because that's the number of people you had to reach out to get one positive response, right? One layer. So you want this number as low as possible, obviously. Now, if the number is not low enough, now you can break it down. So now your reply rates and other metrics, those can now help you troubleshoot why
Which parts are going to move the PCPL down.
So now if your PCPL is not low enough and you see your reply rate is like 0.2%, it's a deliverability problem.
I see.
Okay. So like now you go down that branch of the decision tree to figure out what's wrong. If your reply rate is 3%, but your PCPL is still too low, that means you're reaching out to the there's an offer and list fit.
Very interesting.
Means you're reaching out to the wrong people, or you're making the wrong offer to the right people. So now you go down that decision tree and troubleshoot.
The next part of your business, which is dialing. Very few people do it because I think and that's a unique selling point because with outbound, you can get anyone anywhere in the world to go do that.
Right.
But for dialing, you need to have a certain person, right?
Right.
Accents also matter. Walk me through it. I'm very curious. I'm an open book. I want to know, why did you add dialing? Number one, who do you dialing for? Is there a particular type of persona that it clicks you saying that they will only close if you do dialing? Let's go into that. I have a lot more to ask.
Right. So the reason we did dialing, again, most of the things that we do, it always comes down to, like you're just looking at the industry we're going after, right? So a lot of the outreach we do, it's to local businesses. So you're looking at HVAC, plumbing, like these kinds of businesses. And if you don't call them on the phone, they're not looking. The owners don't.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to call them on the phone. And that's why we started introducing dialing. And when we did, the results were, we saw a massive improvement, right? Oftentimes, so we deliver appointments for some of our customers, not leads.
How does operations work? Where do you find these people? You don't give a secret sauce, but why? We know accents matter. We don't do sugarcoat it, right? We know that you can't come from a different accent, whether it's European, Southeast Asian, and sell to Americans, if you sell to Americans, right? How does that work? Are you using AI tools to sort of get people to convert their accents across, or are you finding people in other countries? If so, how so? And what are the criteria you use to hire someone?
So a lot of people think, and I think this is a barrier that I had, mental barrier that I had initially as well. A lot of people think that you cannot find people who have neutral accents in non-US countries. But the truth is, there's a lot of talent in these countries that has dialed to the US, that comes with experience, and that does not have an accent. You just have to be good enough at recruiting to find those people, pay them enough money so that they are willing to bring that experience to your team, and then just have them dial. It's literally, it's more, if you say that I can't find people without accents, you're probably either not paying enough or just not looking it. Yeah, fair enough. It's not that those people don't exist, because companies like Amazon, there's massive corporations that outsource their customer support to these companies, right? So if they're good enough for Amazon, they're good enough for you. You just have to match what they get paid there or offer them.
I guess that's the gap. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair play. That's a very interesting. I like the word neutral accents. I think that's a very interesting take. From the time you sign a client on, you said you interview them so that you understand pain points and trouble and so on and so forth. But through that interview, do you actually find out who to target, or is that targeting left to you?
A lot of the times the client would just say, we can work with any HVAC.
Okay.
So, it's a mix of the two. Some people are very articulate about who makes their best customers, and some people, they just don't know, and
you need to figure it out.
Just don't know. And then you need to figure it out. Okay. So, this is where, if you've done similar campaigns in the past, this is where it makes, you can just draw on the data that you already have. Usually when it comes to lists, we try to look for directories, again, just those two broad categories, behaviors and attributes. Try to look for directories, try to look for things that they have in common. So we try to look for things that, just go by that list and then give ideas to the clients to see if they agree that that's going to make a good list, right? And then I'll also touch on your point.
Can you explain directories to me?
So directories would be,
directories. I said directories.
No,
okay, directories. Okay,
directories.
Yeah, go for it.
So directories would just be, there are association directories that are often directories that people pay to get.
Oh, so you're not even talking about like associate. So these are paid directories that are niche and very driven
Yeah.
on. Okay, so all right, interesting. Now, if I was a SaaS company trying to go ahead and do my own outbound, right? Let's just call it a bit of a foot in mouth conversation for you. I come to you, I say, yeah, I can't afford you right now because I don't know outbound myself. I'm gonna go try it. Where am I gonna screw up? That you know for a fact I'm gonna screw up.
Right. So
And then I come back to you. So usually that I'm sure this happened to you where
yeah.
they'll be like, you're too expensive. You're like, don't worry, you're gonna come back to me in a few months' time. And then when they come back to you, this is the exact things that screwed up.
Right.
What are the things you think people will be doing?
So again, I'll list the mistakes that we see the most often. First is deliverability.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of people for some reason, they love tracking open rates. They love including the link to their website in the signature. So that stuff, if you're trying to do any kind of volume, that messes you up. That's number one. If you get the deliverability right, a lot of people, they just buy Zoom for Apollo subscriptions.
Very top level stuff.
And, just like they hope that they'll apply filters and then, that
magic might work. Yeah.
Doesn't work. Irrelevant leads are, no replies at all.
I want to jump back onto the list building part, right? So I get the structure. I get how you use directories, your TAM structure in place. You interview your customers to figure out who to sell to. This is unique to you. But if I were to spend a day in your office, right, understand how you're doing this, which parts of your business, because you said AI is still not where it's let loose, it's still got an observability layer on top of it. What are the redundant activities that were redundant in 2025 you've automated right now? Specifically in the list building part. You can say
with the list building, I think like I mentioned earlier, we've expanded. So we started doing a lot more, but there's nothing that we really eliminated. Like it helps us with scoping. It helps us kind of go in the right. So maybe the brainstorming is easier because now the AI can come up with ideas of, this could be a good segment. Or this don't have like a good segment.
Mind blocks as thought blocks.
Yeah, so that is one thing, but it's mostly been with list building. It's mostly been expansion rather than elimination.
Interesting, and that's probably attributable for those watching this, right? Atishay is amongst the highest reply raters in our business. It comes to show because clearly when you're doing AI is good, but clearly seems like you got the human in the loop a lot more dialed in than anyone else. But Atishay, it's been fabulous having you here, man. We're gonna do a bunch of cool stuff together. We're excited to have you. Thank you for being a supporter, and absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much for this lovely conversation.
And I'll see you soon. Cheers.